So Arkham 3rd Edition finally came out, and we played it.
We did.
So we've played it one time so far.
Yeah, we've only played it once.
And we played it on Halloween night, which was a fun time.
Yes.
Seemed appropriate. We got it that day before, after pre-ordering it, so...
So we just want to talk about a few of our thoughts and everything. I think we'll start off with just general, quick hits. What did you think of the game?
So, if I had to quickly, I guess, say that, I would say two things. First, it was good. I thought it was really good. Second, it's pretty different than 2nd edition, I thought, which was good. What about you?
Yeah, I would say the same thing. I would say it was good. It was fun. We're a little biased. We like 2nd edition.
We are.
So that should tell you what you need to know, I guess.
And I did mention also, we did pre-order it, so I mean, we were clearly excited for it.
Yeah. It was good, as we said, but I also agree. I thought it was pretty different, mostly in good ways, which was really nice because I was a little worried about some of the changes in terms of, I don't want it to necessarily be exactly the same game as 2nd, but I was a little worried that some of the changes were going to take away some of my favorite parts of 2nd. So, and it seems that did not pan out. So overall, good impression. First impression.
I agree.
Okay, so what were your thoughts before we got the game? Well, let's talk a little bit about that, and then we can kind of go into more specifics.
Yeah, so like we said, obviously super biased, super excited for it. We did pre-order it, and I would say probably, if I was forced to, the 2nd edition is probably my favorite board game of the things we've played.
Wow.
Yeah.
You switch. You do flip-flop a little.
It's true, but thinking about it,
yeah.
I think it is.
Okay.
And I do recognize, just so we get this on the record, it's not a perfect game. And I don't think it's for everyone.
No.
But I really enjoy it. We've played it a lot with different groups of people, different numbers.
Yep.
And every time it's fun, I think. But going into it, obviously, mixed feelings. I was excited because... a new Arkham game is fun, and especially going back to the Arkham Horror name.
Yeah.
So I was excited for that. A little bit worried though after seeing the board. So I should mention that I'm looking at it right now. I didn't really like the look of the modular board.
It's interesting.
Yeah, it's not that it's modular. That's not what bothered me. What bothered me is how it looks, and still not sure how I feel about that, honestly.
The kind of hexagonal sort of thing
going
on.
I mean, it's technically 6-sided, I think.
Yeah.
Sort of. So there's that, and then...
It's a little... Yeah, it's a little different.
And then, obviously, there's the concern that, you take my favorite board game and you're going to recreate it or something. It's like when you have a reboot of a movie that you love, you're worried that it's going to be totally different and ruin, like you were saying, all the things you love about it.
The things that you really like about it, exactly.
But you want to go into it hoping for the best, because if it's good, then we get all new stuff. Because obviously 2nd edition is long dead.
Yes.
As I look at it sitting in its 6 boxes on the shelf behind you. So I would say that's pretty much where I was with that. How about you? What were you thinking before it?
Yeah, beforehand, I didn't look into it a whole lot, obviously. I mean, I knew we were going to pre-order it, so I was kind of like, I don't want to go look at all the discussions.
Yeah, and I also stayed pretty blind on it until we played it also. I didn't really want to hear...
I didn't watch any pre-release playthroughs. I don't know how much you watched.
I saw that there was a stream they did at Arkham Nights like a week ago or week before, but other than watching them set it up, I just wanted to see how it looked, and then I stopped.
Yeah, so I didn't know a ton about it in terms of mechanics and how it was going to be different. I kind of wanted to play it before knowing too much about that, because I didn't really want to, color how I was going to feel playing it the first time. So not a lot. Like you, I kind of thought the board looked weird.
And it does.
And the board is is kind of one of those things that we really like about second. I know it's huge.
It is huge, especially with an expansion. Yeah.
It gets to be monstrous, but that's kind of half the fun.
That's why you buy a big table.
Yeah. And I mean, it's also not like the most beautiful artwork or anything, but like we learned that layout. We knew Arkham. I felt like it was a real, like it was the closest to a real city because everything was in the same spot. You always knew where everything was and how to get there and how many spaces it took to get there.
I feel like we could be tour guides in Arkham.
Right. So it is, and it's like, you know, we learn the different areas, not so much based on their name, but more like we remember all the crazy things that happened at Velma's Diner and things like that. And so we kind of like remembered that part of the board for that. So the board was, I wasn't like too worried about it ahead of time, but I thought it looked strange. And I didn't know so much about how it was modular so that they could change it for every scenario. I didn't really know that ahead of time.
Having scenarios is a whole different thing also. Yeah,
so I'm not quite... Originally I saw it and I was like, oh, that's kind of ugly. I don't know why they did that. Now I at least understand a little better why they did it. But yeah, that was the main thing. And I was also very worried because... part of Arkham, one of my favorite parts was the randomness of the encounters. I know a lot of people don't like that. Totally get it.
Yep, agreed.
You don't have a lot of control over what's going to happen. But that, for me, was half the fun. Like, it kind of, in a weird way, ended up being a really long game of just seeing what crazy things were going to happen.
And I think that added character because each game was its own story.
We remembered all the weird encounters that happened at Velma's Diner.
Right.
And that's why Velma's Diner was such a fun, like, location for us.
Right, exactly.
So that's what I really liked about it. And I know that, you know, with Eldritch and games like that have kind of tried to take out a little bit more of that randomness and give the players a little more control.
Yeah.
I was worried that that's where they were going to head with this game. Just because that's kind of the evolution of how things have gone since Arkham Second. But... So I was a little worried that was going to be taken out, that they were going to make it a little more like Eldritch in terms of the how you traveled around, how things were done. And I am not the biggest fan of Eldritch Horror.
Yeah, so I was going to say elephants or Eldritch in the room right now. I think we should address it. Neither of us are huge fans of it. It's sitting behind me on the shelf. We own it.
We have it. We've played it. I don't think it's a bad game at all.
It's definitely not.
I think it's a very well designed game actually, but I don't think we have as much fun playing it.
No.
And I agree. I think we have other games that are more about control that we like better.
Yeah.
Than Eldritch, and so I feel like when we want our Lovecraftian theme, we kind of want it to be more like Arkham Second. So
yeah, I agree.
So that was my concern, that Arkham Third was going to be more like Eldritch, less like Arkham Second.
Yeah.
But yeah, so those were the main things. So then, how do you think it did actually compare to the other Arkham games, to Eldritch Horror, to some of the other games that Fantasy Flight has made that are clearly in the same universe, the Lovecraftian thing they do. So the Mansions of Madness games,
the Files universe or whatever they're calling
obviously
it now.
the card game and all that stuff.
So I think when we played it, I made the joke, and I would still stand by it after thinking about it. I would say 3rd edition is essentially Arkham Files' greatest hits.
Yes.
I feel like what it is it's gone across 2nd edition, and it's gone across Eldritch and its Mansions and the LCG, and it's pretty much just combining all of the elements of those games that are good or that people like, and they've made essentially that greatest hits game. Like the map and the focus of 2nd edition on the town of Arkham, let's do that, but let's do some scenarios with some specific goals and like a specific mystery like we see in Eldritch or we see in the LCG. And there's now that Mythos bag where it's not a deck anymore.
Yeah.
Now you draw tokens.
You draw those tokens.
Yeah. Which, you know.
Out of a chaos bag.
Exactly. So you do that, and now the way monsters work, they engage with you, which you put in your not called threat area, but it's your threat area, like in the LCG. Mm-hmm. And you also have a modular board that changes each time, like for mansions.
Like mansions, yeah.
Which, honestly, again, side note, they should have just done tiles like in mansions. It would have looked much nicer. But that's fine. So I would say that I understand after playing it why it's called 3rd edition. Mm-hmm. I don't feel like it's the same game.
Yeah.
It feels very different to me.
It feels different, but close enough that I know why it's called 3rd edition.
Yeah, I agree.
One of the things also that we thought was weird was we were like, why is it called Arkham 3rd edition? It seems so different. Like, it should just be its own new game. But after playing it, it's definitely a 3rd edition. I mean, it's different. Certainly different, but definitely feels like Arkham Horror.
Yeah, I would say more than the others, definitely.
Yeah, so how would you compare it to Arkham 2nd? As in, will this replace it? Will this
I know
find its own space?
I know that's a hot topic because when you have a new edition, the first thing you start seeing pop up is, should I buy this one? Should I buy the second? I'm a huge fan of the second. Will I like this? I hate the second. Will I like this? Mm-hmm. And I would say if you hate Arkham 2nd edition and you also hate Eldritch Horror and you hate the Arkham Files thing, you won't like this game.
You won't like this game.
But I think if you hate 2nd edition because you feel it's too random and you think it's too big to set up and it takes too long, this would be worth looking at if that's what you don't like.
It does definitely address a lot of those things. Setup is way easier.
It is, and I honestly I feel like we've played 2nd so much that I can set it up and break it down very quickly.
Yeah.
But this one, my first and second time just setting it up and looking at it, it's much quicker.
Yeah, way quicker.
And of course...
And easier. Just not as many pieces, really. There's certainly a decent number of cards and different types of cards, like different piles and everything, but
I mean, it's a fantasy flight game. You gotta have those little cards everywhere.
But not nearly as many. And, it'll probably get there by the time you add all the expansions.
It definitely will. But the other ones did too,
right now,
of course.
Yeah, I would say it's not too bad.
But to answer your question, I enjoyed it. I'm excited to see the other scenarios. Again, this one it's more scenario driven, which has some branching paths based on how things go, what you're able to do, which I think we saw them do with the Fallout board game when they had their quest lines and that. So it looks like it's greatest hits of other things too.
Some other ideas from some non-Arkham games.
But it worked. And I think that I'm excited to see the other scenarios and to see the other outcomes and also to see what they can do with expansions because they're in the works.
Yeah, of course they are.
So, I don't think it replaces 2nd for me, but I don't see why a collection couldn't have both. Mm-hmm. I think they scratch different itches for different reasons.
I would say I agree with that. I would say that if this type of game is not your favorite, we both obviously really like Arkham 2nd. So for us, having Arkham 2nd and Arkham 3rd will not be an issue. We will play both of them still, I think when we want to. If you've played Arkham 2nd at someone's house, or if you have like just the base box or something and you just didn't find you liked it that much or played it that much, I'm not sure that you're going to need both of them, but you might like 3rd better. So
I would guess, without having looked at it much, I would think the majority of people would prefer 3rd. It is more streamlined.
I would say it's more streamlined.
There are more player decisions that I feel like matter.
Yes.
You have more things you can do that can affect the outcome, which I understand that's a good thing. People like to feel like they can affect the game.
Definitely.
So that's a good thing to have.
If you are a diehard Eldritch fan, this game might be a little too Arkham-y for you. Like, if you love Eldritch but you hate Arkham 2nd, this might dabble into Arkham a little too much for you. But you might also like it because you get a little more of that Arkham feel without all the negatives that you don't like about 2nd. So I think it's certainly worth trying.
It does.
At the very least,
yeah.
if you're interested at all.
I think so. I wouldn't let, if you are an Eldritch fan and you hated second for all the reasons we've mentioned, I wouldn't let the Arkham Horror name scare you away from this one. It does feel like it takes more of the decisions from Eldritch you can make, and having in that game where you had the mysteries that were Ancient One specific, this has those scenarios, so it feels, the clues feel more tailored to that, and your experience is more tailored to your scenario.
So because the clues are now encounter based,
right,
they're actually very specific to the scenario, which was a really cool addition that I liked a lot, because again, I like the encounters, so it made the clues more encounter-like, and that was very cool. That was a really nice addition. I
like that. And I remember one of our friends, when we were teaching her the game way back, and she said, well, what are the clues?
Arkham Second?
Yeah. And we were like, oh, they're tokens that you use, you need 5, blah blah blah. And she was like, but like, what are they? We're like, well, they're clues.
Yeah, I know. For a game that's so heavily themed, it's kind of funny to think that they were just like, oh no, it's just a little mechanical piece. It doesn't have any flavor on it or anything.
Exactly. And now for this one, like the one we played had a lot to do with time looping, time travel, time tears, and it was, the clue encounters were specific. I remember my investigators saw some newspaper headlines from different time eras,
different time periods,
and you know, it actually went toward figuring out the scenario and the mystery, which I thought was really good, because again, in second, they really are just tokens. So it was nice.
That was a really nice addition. I agree. Well, before we wrap up our comparisons, the board again, I will bring it up again. Mansions of Madness, if you've never seen them, has these nice pieces. They're very pretty. The artwork is actually very nice on them. They're usually square or rectangular, and they fit together nicely. It doesn't always make like a perfectly rectangular board when you fit them all together, but it makes like a nice compact thing that looks like a board
It looks
from
like
a board game.
Yeah, it looks like a board.
Right? This game does the hexagonal locations. It's 3 locations on one of the hexagonal pieces, and it's supposed to be like a neighborhood, which was something that was in Arkham Second. And then they're connected by streets, so that's how you get the different layouts with the pieces. I guess it makes sense from it's you can make the different neighborhoods connect in different ways, but it looks weird. It certainly doesn't look like a board game.
No.
To me, it doesn't look like a board.
It doesn't, and I would feel like if you had this set up at your game store or something, and someone wasn't familiar with Second or Eldritch, people could see from a distance, like, oh, that's a Lovecraft thing. That's a board game. People would have no idea what this thing is. Like, what is this?
The art, because of the shape of everything, the art gets a little cluttered.
And
I would say, and it's pretty nice. I would say on the board, it's very Arkham-y. It's very Lovecraftian.
If you look past that, you can see
kind
it.
of it gets heavily obscured by all the other stuff. I just think it would have made a lot more sense to go with the Mansions of Madness style. I think it would have looked better. I think you could have made the different streets connecting and everything still work. The other big issue, we had ours out of the box. Some of the roads don't fit properly into the slots.
And I have seen some posts pop up. That's not just us. That's pretty universal.
We definitely have roads that, around the edges of the hexagon are little inserts to put the roads, and they are just not very well cut, I guess. They don't fit. It's not an issue. It lays flat enough, but it's weird. And I feel like if you had perfectly straight edges, they would just fit together real nice. But
I think the modular idea is good. I just think the execution of this decision, I'm not sure I agree with, which I know is not a groundbreaking opinion. But I do want to just echo that.
Having played it, it's even weirder than I thought it was going to be, truthfully.
It's not, it doesn't detract from the game. It doesn't make the game bad or anything. It just, you see it and you're like, Mansions of Madness doesn't do this.
It's such a weird idea.
It is.
It's such a strange idea. And I mean, we'll see what they do with it. They could maybe do some interesting things with it that they couldn't end up doing with the Mansions of Madness style boards. I don't know.
I don't see how that's possible, but I don't design games, so maybe.
I mean, we'll see what they do with it. I agree. It's really not a deal breaker. It's not that important.
No.
I just think that it makes the game look a little weird.
It does.
On your table. I will say though that the good thing about it is that it makes the game board itself way smaller.
Its footprint is
smaller.
Oh yeah, we could set up 2 of these for everyone
easily on our table. Yep. What Arkham Second used to take up our whole table, and honestly, even sometimes if we were playing with 5 or 6 people in Arkham Second, we couldn't fit everybody's card and everybody's player card and all of their individual item cards and everything
side table
on the board
shelves
with the full with everything else going on. So
God forbid if we try to do the crazy thing of setting up with all expansions where you need a second table.
We've never done that. We've
wild.
never done more than one board, I think, with that many people.
We're not those...
One extra expansion board.
We're not all-in people. But I know some people do it, and I've seen the pictures. It's wild.
That's crazy. We don't have a table big enough.
I don't think anyone does.
But yeah, definitely makes the board game the board a lot smaller, which is a good thing. As much as I love that board, is really big.
It is. It's not, I mean, the size of the board is not a good thing of that.
Not really.
I agree.
Okay. So, then let's talk a little bit about the game without comparing it to the other Fantasy Flight, Arkham Files, Lovecraft games. Let's just talk about it as a game itself. What did you think about, the mechanics, how it played, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so for just like a quick rundown, quick bullet point summary of how the general flow of it is, just to recap that, you essentially you have that scenario. The scenario gives you some of those cards from the box that steer the story. Mm-hmm. So there's a specific story for each ancient one or scenario, and then the board is set up differently based on which scenario you pick. The monsters are no longer tiles or chits, but they're now a deck that you construct that's again tailored to each scenario. Mm-hmm. The neighborhood's tailored to each scenario, and you put clues based on each scenario's event deck. So the clues get mixed into the neighborhoods, and then you have your general investigator turn, monster turn, and then you have that mythos bag where you're no longer drawing from a mythos deck, but tokens that tell you what to do. Mm-hmm. So in general,
I would say it definitely streamlines things.
It does.
Because by having the little tokens that you pull out of the bag, you don't end up having like that those really thick mythos decks. And so it ends up being a little more general. But because the clues are so specific to the scenarios, and the scenarios have their own like specific stories going on, you still get a lot of that flavor.
You do.
A lot of the theming of Arkham, even if I would say mechanically it's a little more simple.
It is good. I mean, and you no longer have the gates opening, going through the gates, otherworld encounters, sealing the gates.
You do not have those gate and the other worlds that you go through.
But I don't think it's missed, honestly. I think having the scenario specific thing kind of makes up for that. Mm-hmm. So I would say just from that, generally on my turn, I felt very much like it was, I had a lot of things I could do, which was nice. And then I felt like it was great to have those scenario cards and have my little encounters that I loved from Arkham, which are always, I liked the smaller scale of it. I liked having the Velma's Diner encounter where we made the joke about you got to have the pie, and then the encounter we got had the pie. So it was good. It felt familiar. I enjoyed that aspect of it a lot.
Yeah. I agree. I think it is still a long game. It is, our playthrough, which was very slow, because we were reading rules and all that kind of good stuff.
And we were punching it too, kind of at the same time.
All that kind of stuff. So. It did take several hours. I would say, though, that on a typical playthrough, it's going to feel Probably like somewhere between Arkham Second and Eldritch, which I know we're not comparing, but
Yeah.
we don't have a specific time yet because we have not really played it where we knew the rules fully.
And I have seen, just to comment on that, I've seen average times at around 2 hours.
Yeah.
So it is shorter than most people's
yeah.
experience with Second.
Yeah. And Eldritch can get up there.
It does.
Definitely can.
I know they claim it doesn't, but especially when you throw in those expansions, it's just
it can get up there.
Yeah.
But it's definitely still a long game though. So if you don't like games that can last that long, it's probably not going to be a great choice. They didn't make it. They didn't significantly cut playtime or anything like that.
But I would say that, like you were saying, even though we were dragging because of rules and everything, I didn't get bored. I didn't feel bored
it was
at all.
it moved because of the story aspect of the scenario. It was like we hit a few, like 3 or 4 different beats to the scenario.
That's a good way to put it.
Like, the different little portions. So it didn't feel like it was dragging at any point specifically.
And I would say, I know we're not comparing, but we kind of have to because it's a 3rd edition. In Second, it's kind of, once you have the established ancient one, there's really no beats anymore.
It's just go through the gate, get all the gates. Get all the gates
story,
done.
the scenario, it's always the same. This was nice because it was, you need to do X before Y.
Yes.
And then if one of those, whichever one happens, go find this card that explains the next story beat.
Yes, and it seems to me from our playthrough that it's going to be very different depending on the scenario, what your goal is. So we had, we had to get clues and put them in a certain location. I feel like there are going to be other scenarios that might not be so clue heavy.
Right.
Or the clues, just finding the clues might get you to where you need to go more than, getting them and putting them somewhere.
Right.
And different things like that. And even within our scenario, we had things happen where we had one goal and then something happened and then it completely changed our goal.
Yeah, and then there was when that goal changed, it wasn't, I figured, now it's get more clues, but it was, now there are these tokens on the board.
Totally different, yeah.
And there's a new mechanic that comes out of nowhere, and that was interesting. And also I feel like that leaves a lot of space for the inevitable wave of expansions, because they're going to add all sorts of other things and other story beats, and we might see these scenarios could get changed. We could have Return to Azathoth and Return to... So I feel like there's a lot of design space, which I think is good for the life of this game. Obviously, it's Fantasy Flight, so there are 3 expansions in already in their heads. So.
Yeah, they're definitely going to be coming out. But, I agree. I think that... turns felt good. They didn't feel too long, I would say, or anything.
No, and we did play with just the 2 of us.
Yes, which is usually better for that kind of thing, because we were both learning at the same time.
That's
so
true.
We were about at the same level of knowing it and knowing how it works and everything. I would say combat's certainly different in this game.
It is.
But I wouldn't say it's any more or less complicated than in Second.
I would say it's less complicated only because there are less numbers and things you have to worry about.
Okay.
There are no more horror checks.
That's true. There are no more horror checks.
So that's different, and I know some people aren't huge fans of that. But I would say, kind of like what they did with Eldritch, it's a bit more streamlined. I wouldn't say it's a lot simpler than that, though.
Yeah.
It's still, there are a lot of numbers.
There's still a lot of things, and it's got keywords and things. So monsters spawn in certain locations. Monsters can be hunters.
Yeah.
Like the LCG.
Yeah.
So and
they
the
have
hunting
prey.
conditions do different things. So that's a little different. It's kind of, again, I like it better because in Second, monsters kind of moved based on the Mythos card.
Right.
And based on, that color that moved them around to certain areas. And then, of course, they all had some had specific conditions and things as well.
Right.
These ones are more specific to each type of monster, and they are a little more thematic, so they're a little more themed to whatever the scenario is and what's going on, which is nice. I like that kind of stuff. So, but it certainly felt like simplified in a good way.
Yeah.
Easier to follow, because I guess it's a little it's a little more like straightforward, all kind of on the card for you.
Yeah, it's all in one place.
Versus having it on different places to how you move around.
I mean, I remember reading the Mythos card in second it's in reverse of what you think, and things like that.
It's a little weird. It got a little clunky over time. So this was a nice streamline for sure.
And I think that it's streamlined without taking away too much of that. It doesn't feel like it's like Arkham Light. It still feels like it's a game.
Yeah, for sure.
It's still, I mean, it's not heavy, but it's got some weight.
It's gonna feel the same in terms of like, it doesn't feel light, like you said. It doesn't feel like a light version. It's just a little more approachable for people who haven't played.
I mean, that's probably good because then you spend more of your time playing and
less
seeing the story and
learning the rules or trying to
cards,
remember all of the rules or the orders.
The tokens.
Yeah, exactly.
One other thing while I'm thinking about it, it's untested right now because we've only played with the two of us.
Yep.
But from what I have read now and what I've seen, the scaling in this game seems a lot better.
Yes.
Than the other Arkham games.
Definitely. We played just the two of us, one character each, and it was fine. I did not think that it was a problem. I didn't feel like we were struggling to
it was
do
hard.
what it was asking for.
We lost, for the record.
It's hard. I expect an Arkham game to be hard.
Especially
honestly.
the first time around.
Yeah, when we don't know
how
anything's going to go.
I feel like we knew what we were doing. We at least put up kind of a fight.
I was going to say, I didn't feel like the game was overwhelming us.
I just think we
at all.
lost.
And I don't think we've ever played Arkham we've never even like played Arkham with 2 where it worked
it just
properly.
doesn't. And I've heard people have played this one true solo, one investigator, and have won.
Wow.
So it works, and I think that's because the Mythos phase this time around, it's based on investigator. So you draw 2 tokens from that bag per player. And I think because of that, it scales to, if you have 6 players, the board's going to get way out of control, but you have 6 of you to deal with it.
Right.
If you play with 2, it's only 2 times that.
Yep.
So I think that is a good thing to address, because I know some people, when they play solo or have only 2 people playing, they don't like managing multiple characters. And you certainly still could. You just would draw 4 times instead of 1 round, you draw 4 rounds.
Yeah.
So I think it's good for that, definitely.
I think so. I would agree. I don't think we haven't played with obviously a big group yet or anything, but I could definitely, just from the mechanical standpoint, see how it would work better with different numbers of players. Yeah. Okay. So without let's try and actually do it this time without comparing.
This is the only game we've ever played.
What did you think of the game, and how do you think other people will like it?
I think it's good. I think it's a good game. I think that the stories that we've seen so far are interesting. There's already been some of that zany, silly memories you'll have of like Velma's Pie, things like that. I think the mechanics are pretty tight. I think it's not overly complicated, but still has that weight to it that makes it feel like you're playing a game. And I think it's a good game. I think it's good. I think that I would recommend it to people that like the Amera style of game, that like rolling dice, like having these... If you like Lovecraft stories, if you like that theme, if you like that sort of style of game, I would definitely recommend checking it out. And it's the only Arkham game I've ever played.
Yes, of course.
What about you?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's well designed. I think that, you will, if you are a game person and you like games, you will like it because it's pretty well designed. I think it's fun. It's got a good theme. I think it's pretty easy to learn the rules. I think, you'll have to definitely want to read that rule book at least once. If heavy rule games are not your thing, this one might be a little tough for you. Not because there's really a lot of rules, but mostly just because there's going to be some situations that come up that you're going to have to consult that rule book for. Because sometimes there's going to be a few things that overlap and you're going to get...
You have to figure out which takes precedent.
So if you like heavier games, definitely one to check out, I think. Theming, as always, I feel like with Arkham stuff's really good. But yeah, I think you will enjoy it. I think it will be good if you're good with that longer time limit. I think you'll be fine with it too.
I think so. Definitely. And I don't know if we've directly said anything, but I think one thing I've seen people talking about is the new scenario based thing. And does that hurt replayability? And obviously we've played it once, but I don't feel it does.
So we kind of feel this way about the LCG as well, the Arkham Horror living card game. But it just because you know the scenario doesn't mean that it's going to play out exactly the same way.
Yeah.
Especially with different investigators that have different abilities and all that kind of stuff.
And I think unlike a game like Time Stories or the escape the rooms or the exits or unlocks, or like Consulting Detective, it's knowing how a story in this game ends, I don't think detracts from that experience.
It doesn't. It just doesn't. It doesn't affect necessarily what your decisions are going to be in the moment, because you're going to be dealing with different monsters that are going to come up. You're going to be dealing with your different abilities, and different items you may have will make you better at doing certain things. And the clues are part of the encounter, so you're going to have to deal with the encounters as they happen. So it's really not going to affect you that much in a second playthrough.
No, it's not like solving a mystery to the point that if you know who the killer is, the book is ruined for you. It just...
When you set up the game, you know who the Ancient One is.
Yeah, I mean, one of them's called Feast for Umwardov.
Yeah.
You kind of know what's going to happen.
You know who it is, but that doesn't matter. That's not... It's about how you play to get there, really.
And the things that you and your investigators go through, that'll be different each time. And even if not, I think the game mechanics, it's fun to play. I think that still carries it. It's still a fun game.
Yeah, it's definitely fun. And your encounters are going to be different when you play each time.
Yeah.
So.
And I know people have commented on, there are only 8 cards per neighborhood encounter. It does seem a little bit light, but 2 things on that. With the clues getting mixed in, that deck is 24 cards for each scenario, so that adds a little bit there. And we all know that those are going to get fleshed out. So
that is the other thing. The game comes with 4 scenarios, I believe.
Yes, that's right.
As it is. You know they're going to make more scenarios, and you know they're going to add encounter
just
cards.
Like they did. And I think if I recall,
they're going to do all that stuff. So I feel like we'll get more than 4 playthroughs out of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
As is. When we played, I would not say that we saw all the encounter cards for the neighborhoods.
I would say we barely scratched the surface of it.
So I would say we still have plenty of encounter cards to go through after playing it once. So we'll get definitely more than 4 out of it. Yeah. And because we like it, we are going to buy the expansions, which will extend the life, and that's its own thing.
I mean, that's another discussion for another day. But it's just like with Mansions of Madness, it out of the box came with 4 scenarios, and I feel like that had more replayability than just 4 times. And I would say that even more so than this is, if you kind of know those scenarios, I would say that does detract a bit from Mansions, because part of that is sort of figuring out what's going on. This, I think the focus is more on your turn and your decisions and what happens and how you address the monster or the scenario.
The story of the scenario is really more just leading you through the game. Yeah. It's not so much the focus of the game.
I think that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, okay, so is there anything else that you want to comment on that we haven't? I feel like we've talked about a lot
No,
of it.
I think...
Oh, we haven't talked about the best piece.
Okay, you're right. Yeah, absolutely. It's been sitting here the whole time and we've just ignored it.
I know. So there's a deck. It's an important part of the game that you pull from, and it gets its own little cardboard like box that you create.
Yeah, you have to punch it and put it together. It's amazing. And it sounds like we're being sarcastic.
We're being a little bit.
And we are a little bit, but it is actually pretty cool.
I would say the components are going to be exactly what you expect.
Except for the board, but we've talked about that.
We've talked the board to death. The components are all going to be very much like you would expect. There's going to be some small cards. There's going to be some regular size cards.
I'd say quality is good though.
I would say quality. Yeah, I would say that I wouldn't expect Fantasy Flight to give me bad quality. Honestly,
but that's when they get you.
But I guess I should worry about that kind of thing. There are a lot of tokens and stuff like you would expect, but not an absurd amount.
No, it's definitely not to the point that it feels overly fiddly. There's not too many things going on, at least not yet. But again, 4 expansions from now, we'll get there. But no, I would say it's worth the price just for that sweet deck box holder thing. But
totally. Yeah, but I we liked it.
Yeah,
you might say
it's good if you've gotten to this point.
If you're on the fence and if you hate the other games, it's not going to change your mind.
Definitely
it is not different enough.
It's not.
If you like the other games, you might end up liking this one even more. So I would say give it a shot.
I would agree, and I wouldn't let, again, disliking seconds keep you away from this game unless you also hate all of the Arkham Files games.
Right.
Then maybe skip it. But if you like the LCG, or if you like Mansions, or if you like Elder Sign, which, Elder Sign has dice. I wouldn't say there's any other similarity. But if you like the theme, if you're open to it, I would say definitely give this one a shot.
It's at least worth trying,
it's
I
good.
would say. Yeah.